Hey, so I've been looking for a while on what to do a video on and fallen short on uh, wanting it. So I finally saw something that caught my eye. It's the Martin Luther King assassination tapes. And I find that MLK's tapes are disappearing on BitChute, Mags. And MLK is a interesting character on the masses because MLK has a street name in every state and plays, no doubt, a good guy. MLK supposedly had a dream of bringing everyone together and getting rid of the Freemasons. Well, that's at least how I see it. And in reality, it's not the case. He is a Freemason. These are controlled opposition to turn people racist and government agents to entrap the people. So please keep that in mind as you're watching the footage.
Demonstrators are participating in this largest civil rights demonstration ever in Memphis, Tennessee. Today, as the march moves up toward City Hall, Dr. Martin Luther King will speak to the striking workers and their sympathizers, now estimated somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000. Chaos has just broken out downtown. Negro youths are smashing windows.
Remember, it's like a movie, and it's caused riots within the country. Then they take him off the scene because, of course, people are not going to let MLK go. Kind of reminds me of Elvis. And breaks people's confidence and faith in moving forward and not being slaves anymore. Unfortunately, people still think that the white man is holding them down versus the Freemasons, which causes a division within the human race.
But Chief, what is the condition of the city?
The city is under attack.
Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place.
YouTube tends to have it fuzzy if I try talking while the video's talking. It also stops lining up. Now, why would the government glorify someone who's starting a revolution? Because it's not real. Okay? 100%.
This is WMBS headline news at 8:25.
Look at it like that.
U.S. authorities have revealed a shortage of bombs in South Vietnam is curtailing air attacks on the Viet Cong.
The president has frequently interrupted his day-long conference on Vietnam problems to stay in close touch with the volatile racial disorders throughout the nation.
Bombs in Vietnam exploded home. They destroy the dream and possibility.
Every time they do this, it's a research and development on the masses to see what they're willing to put up with. They start the war, and then they act like they're against the war, sectioning off the people, dividing them, and ultimately continuing to conquer.
for a decent America.
I heard some douchebag say that it was wrong for us to give the Nazi Ashkenazi Jews immunity here in America after the war. How dumb do you have to be? Okay? They're all the same. Don't act like you're superior because you're in America or that you're smarter. All you're doing is pissing on your neighbor. You're being fooled by the cheapest. And you're a bigot. Dangerous one at that.
Let us close the springs of racial poison and make our nation whole.
The most massive series of demonstrations ever attempted is the promise of Dr. Martin Luther King.
I mean, how dangerous does a country need to be with everyone running around and soon to be upset, having no idea who their enemy is? And then, if you listen carefully, they'll tell you they don't really care. They'll take out any puppet who belongs to the Freemasons. Now, I tend to agree with that. The problem is that you can't tell who their puppets are because they're wearing masks. Masks of you. Idiots.
Leader of a planned April civil disobedience drive in Washington.
I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term.
All it is a waste of time. If you spend your life in nonprofits working towards civil disobedience, you've wasted your life in controlled opposition working for the government as a semi-puppet.
As your president.
I will die standing up for the freedom of my people.
This has been Headline News from Radio Memphis, WMPS.
Will you die for a game?
Here's the WMPS weather scope for Memphis and the Mid-South. Considerable cloudiness and mild scattered showers through early Tuesday. Partly cloudy and continued mild Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday, the low tonight 55, the high Tuesday 75, and the low Tuesday
Orange,
present barometric pressure
coated
29.7.
all day. They're not going to show you unless it is.
This is Ray Sherman, United Press International in Memphis. 1,000 striking sanitation workers demanded Mayor Henry Lowe hear their grievances. The garbage collectors, predominantly Negro, want higher pay and union recognition.
We are insisting that justice must be done for the sanitation workers.
You need to understand it's not that everything is fake, especially if you're sitting there and you've put something together in your own real life. But you'll notice it won't be on TV.
All their just and fair demands must be met, and that at the same time, both private business and city government must provide a greater percentage of new and important jobs to Negroes.
If you've noticed, they're the ones who took the jobs away in the first place, and then they decide if they're going to give them back. It has nothing to do with whether you striked or what you said or how you felt. It may have lined up with their agenda, but it had nothing to do with us. We don't have any rights down here, except for what you're willing to say.
This work stoppage directly...
All of them are in on it. The mayors, the governors, the presidents. It just trickles down, very similar to a pyramid. It's not hard for you to understand. It's just hard for you to accept. It's not. I used to say that a lot. This is so freaking beyond me. We
Directly affects the public health. Let no one make a mistake about it. The garbage is going to be picked up in Memphis.
I recognize Local 1733 as the bargaining representative for employees.
They're doing biblical rituals on the masses using parables to brainwash and program you into submission.
Employees designating exclusive or otherwise.
Well,
He doesn't want to recognize a union.
The Memphis chapter of the NAACP says the civil rights group will begin protest actions Monday unless the city meets demands of striking garbage collectors. Police used riot control gas and nightsticks this afternoon to break up a disturbance among a group of striking garbage men. Part of a group of about 1,000 marchers began rocking a police car, and police waded in.
Again, it's civil entrapment. If you're in jail, you can't riot. If you're not in jail, you can't riot either. If you were regular people putting on a riot, you would have been stopped before you even got there.
If I were the mayor of this city, I would be ashamed. Anybody who runs around picking on peaceful people is building for trouble.
We probably cannot expect protection of Negro people from brutality and from repression locally. The ear and the power outside of the city of Memphis.
Dr. Martin Luther King has urged the Memphis Negro community to engage in a general work stoppage and school boycott in support of the city's striking sanitation workers.
So I come to commend you.
So it's a perfect movie, and then I think that a lot of people are up on that, and then they still continue to decide to cheapen their life and say, well, I'll still take a stand and say, well, I'm on this side of the coin and not the other. Well, that's ridiculous. Of course you're on this side of the coin and not the other. I mean, unless you're a complete sociopathic ruler, why wouldn't you be taking this side? So is it a sectioning off of people that they'd be considering to recruit sociopathic assholes? Okay, and so in a society where everyone has a phone and everyone's being recorded and no one even is willing to acknowledge that, we find ourselves always starting back to the beginning. So, perfect movie, and soon we're going to see him shot. They show us the hotel room. They have everything about the guy, and you don't find that at all suspicious. Biblical ritual on the mass.
You, and I come also to say to you that in this struggle you have the absolute support, and that means
the Freemasons stick together. All their puppets support one another. It is no coincidence MLK is 332 for Pythagorean numerology, Freemasonry. That's how they speak to each other. It's their language. Signs, symbols, rule the world. And we're not, if the game is open-handed, okay?
financial support also of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. All over America, the vast majority of Negroes.
It's interesting. So Martin Luther King takes the Christian standpoint, and then you got Muhammad Ali, or Malcolm X, right, pushing the Islam thing. I mean, it can't get more obvious. The religion is the division. And it's going to be very hard for you to move forward if you're still holding on to politics or religion or aliens. And you're not going to find truth in that. I'm sorry. And you're fooling yourself if you think you are.
In our country are still perishing on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. And it is criminal to have people working on a full-time job getting part-time income.
If the men do not return to work immediately, we will have...
It's always been that they've taken all the money, and I would say on a generalization that Black people have been extremely vigilant and strong in standing their ground and making sure that they aren't slaves in this country, and that's why they get hit so hard. The only chumps I'm aware of are the Jews, because they do move from area to area and country to country following the TV and the news, at least from what I've seen, doing, work such as, generals in general, more of those positions, bankers, lawyers, doctors, not that it's all them, but, and of course, because it's the Freemason scapegoat, they're going to give them those jobs. They're there to create the division. And at the end of the day, whether you get the job and you decide to take it and be a complete sellout, you don't end up getting anything but eating out of a devil's pot, and you're not the same person at the end. That's my take on it. And that's why you don't ever want to go down that route, because you won't be who you are at the end. I think that's how it works.
They have no choice but to employ others to protect the public health.
This is a total movie, 1968, perfect year for your 666. Switching those 9, 8 plus 1 is 9. You just invert your 9s and 6s. They don't care. Showing the garbage? What are they talking about? Parable taking the garbage out because anyone who's a revolutionist is garbage, or because all we do is eat garbage? Do you see what I'm saying? They jumble stuff up. They put, this is the type of person with, these puppets, they only bring them out when they're on the stage, and then these types of controlled opposition, they bring out to entrap the masses, to get them killed, to get them thrown in jail, and stop saying you're not doing anything wrong. If you're not doing anything wrong, then you are on their shit list. Okay, when I say not doing anything wrong, and you're also not, dead, you still are willing to speak up for your rights. If that is wrong, then there you go. There you go. Ugh. Evil.
This is Ray Sherman on the scene. Several thousand Negro demonstrators are
It
participating.
kind of similar to the flat Earth, the idea of being the non-aggression principle, and that people are not allowed to be violent towards each other, is kind of like not I don't know if it's a double negative or what, but it's like, well, that's obvious. Just like you're not allowed to kill anyone unless you're defending yourself. So they're stating something in the obvious just so they can say that to make a debate on whether it's okay to hurt other people. That what they're trying to do is say, in some circumstances, like in a Nietzsche or survival of the fittest, that some people are maybe in a sodomite, sadist and masochistic situation, that people like to be abused. They're like to come out here and be like, well, of course, we don't want to be violent, and we don't want you where that's the type of people we are. Okay, it's not adding up. But at the same time, to be like, well, we're going to be violent, you know what I'm saying? Here, we're out here to fight you. It doesn't really make sense. Okay, that's what they did. They also did that with the PETA thing. So they could smoke out and find out, who's the one who just loves animals and who's willing to go out and steal their property and protect the animals that much. Now, I'm not saying we don't want to protect things, but you can't. They're not letting you. You're not allowed to. You'd be lucky if you can protect yourself.
Participating in this largest civil rights demonstration ever in Memphis, Tennessee. This massive downtown march on Memphis is now underway. Several thousand Negroes are marching toward City Hall at this time. Many of the demonstrators are carrying the sign,
I mean, when you see a bunch of cop cars, like, outside someone's house, or when you're, like, I don't know about you, but I see people get pulled over, and I see them handcuffed as well. I just wonder, what do you think's going on there? Do you know, how bad do you think those people are? And do you think they would actually let them form a group like this? Right? And not be watched? Of course not. But they let people think that so they can believe in the American dream.
I am a man. They stretch out for several blocks. Later today, as the march moves up toward City Hall, Dr. Martin Luther King will speak to the striking workers and their sympathizers, now estimated somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000. Police are on hand with about 600 officers. Almost the entire force is standing by here in case any trouble might break out.
Just like they pushed the Beatles and Elvis 5,000 to 8,000, they're not going to stop until the whole world knows who the Beatles are, Elvis, and Martin Luther King. And that is your hero. Right? So they can get on your ass all day, how and jealous as can be of Mag. Right? But they sit there and will kiss the shit, literally, out of these Freemason sellouts.
Chaos has just broken out downtown. Negro.
I think for sure they redo their resets. They redo the pictures, the people, every 100 or 200 years, because there's not many pictures from history, and the faces are similar on all fronts. And it's not Like, we're not again, got to get out of freaking imaginary land and stick with reality of how people can look alike. They mess with the DNA. They've made languages. They've done a lot. Surely they can change the way people look. There can be twins, quadruplets. They can change eye color. You can even go as far as to say they make babies in like an incubator from an abortion. But to go from leap from that to we're from aliens or robots is a diversion, because there's only they, as long as they can divert you, you're not a threat.
That sound you just heard was the sound of a
And again, threat, when I'm saying a threat from being able to keep your soul. There's no more war physically, like we don't win. Okay, it's all open hand. But the most you can hope for is to die with your soul. That's what it's about. And obviously, we're a food source too.
tear gas fired by a police officer in an attempt to thwart this unruly demonstration. We repeat, several Negro...
They upload this stuff, they tape it, film it. It could be 10, 20, 30 years before they put the event on. It may be before or after they put the event on. You see how they release things later as well. They can change things, which we've seen as well. And that includes facts. So you need to trust yourself most.
Negro youth started running down Main Street, smashing windows as they ran. Police are now moving down Beale Street. Another tear gas canister has just been fired by Memphis police. Negroes are running in every direction. Probably some more.